Okay then guys, what is going on? Cloud Plays here and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today we're inside of Starfield and there is so much going on inside of Starfield's community right now, including the Golden Joystick Awards. We'll dive into that in a second. And who will defend the almighty Bethesda other than CD Projekt Red? I know, that's an interesting story you need to hear, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. On top of that, we've got some changes towards Outposts and NPCs making movements inside of them, and a bit of a talk about the Red Mile and Steam charts. This is a very interesting one, so you want to make sure that you watch this one through to the end. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you smash that beautiful blue thumbs up and subscribe with post notifications turned on. It'd be greatly appreciated. On top of that, check out our sponsor, Advanced GG, the #1 clinically proven energy supplement on the market. My favorite flavor is cherry vanilla, but you guys can catch an array of flavors via the link in the description. Make sure you utilize code CLOUD at checkout for a cheeky discount, and we can dive onto it. So starting off in Bethesda Game Studios, posting up, voting for the Golden Joystick Awards 2023 is now open, and Starfield has been nominated for the Best Audio, Best Visual Design, and Xbox Game of the Year. That is incredible. I am genuinely a little bit gobsmacked by some of it, especially by the best visual design. I feel like there's definitely some other ones that should have taken forefront on that one, but irrelevant to it. They are what they're in for. Now, if you guys want to cast your vote, you can click on the link in the description and go ahead and vote away. It's a really simple process, so hopefully you guys jump in and get your point in there. But next up, CD Projekt Red defending Bethesda. This is an absolutely crazy one, as a Twitter user with nearly 17,000 followers posts up a post about Starfield. Mr. Synth Potato states as following: as much as I like Starfield, creation engine needs to go. Going back to Cyberpunk puts in perspective just how outdated Starfield's dialogue animations are, and it is staggering and regressing to a rigid camera angle that was left behind in 2006 with Oblivion, and entirely eliminating body language in one of the most stunningly stupid decisions I've seen designers make. Why regress to Oblivion? They had a far better angle in Skyrim and Fallout 4. Sure, neither had good facial animations, but at least it didn't lock you in and move body language entirely like Starfield does. Now, in the video, you can see in the description, I'm not going to play it because I don't really want to give this post much more love than what it deserves, but it states right here: in the video I have for Cyberpunk, Judy actually has restless leg syndrome and consistently shakes her leg while sitting. Details like that give NPCs life, where Starfield does not have body animations in dialogue, aside from basic turns and the occasional generic hand gesture. I've been really feeling more and more critical of Starfield after going back to Cyberpunk with the consistent loading screens, awful dialogue camera, and lackluster animations. It really upsets me how Bethesda refuses to move on from that garbage engine that was already outdated by 2015 with Fallout 4, and it's an absolute joke in 2023. Object persistence is not worth losing everything else that makes modern games feel modern. This stuff was in Cyberpunk back in 2020. I really don't think, even with patches, that Starfield can ever really match this level of quality. This is fundamentally the fault of creation engine. Now, that is a really hard hitter of a review there on the dialogue options. Now, I am no fan of the dialogue, and you guys are under no illusion of that basis, but this was an absolute slam down, and it didn't take long for the internet to jump on that one, with it having over 3.1 million views, and you can see how many people agreed with it, with only 14,000 likes. Whereas somebody came in who, quote the tweet, Mr. Patrick K. Mills. Now, this guy is a massive dude in the community. He essentially is a developer for CD Projekt Red, and he makes, quote unquote, expensive games, including The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Neverwinter, Alpha Protocol, and Action Quake 2. And this guy had something to say about it. He states, I like Starfield a lot, so I'm not getting involved in the core criticism here, but I will say that the way they handle cinematics versus versus 2077 is not down to the engine so much as the tools and design. Related but not the same. Caveat, I'm not an engine guy and I have only a little experience with creation kit, so if a programmer with the experience wants to come and correct me, you are welcome, but I don't see any reason why they couldn't do something more elaborate if they wanted to, plus hand the tools. It's not a focus from them for a lot of reasons, and the necessarily high level of player freedom is actually a big deal as the tools. You can't do the Judy's roof thing because you can have the scene play out in 100 something different planets at any time. They do some scenes that are staged in a more refined way, like meeting Constellation for the first time, some quest sequences, but they have vastly more scenes with a revolving cast of characters and a mind-boggling number of locations. Every major scene in 2077 took literally years to make. In Starfield, I can propose to like 10 different NPCs and I can do it on any of 1,000 different planets. You can't do elaborate scene design like that. You'd be making the game forever. Instead, BGS puts their resources into giving maximum levels of player freedom, and they can just do something different with their time, and that's cool. He does go on to state a lot more, so I will leave the post down in the description, as this video is really freaking long just by going through that on its own, but this right here is a very, very solid point as far as how long it takes to make these scenes. Comparing a game like 2077 to Starfield would be an absolutely moronic movement. And especially when we start talking around the cinematics and styles of things, the CD Projekt Red is basically placed within the same quarter zone as the rest of the game, whereas Starfield is so bloody vast. Like he says, you'll be making it absolutely forever if you wanted to have those cinematic trailers points inside of the game. It just doesn't seem to operate the same bloody way. But one thing that they could have done though is via this post right here, Outpost definitely feel better with NPCs on it. Bethesda needs to drop an expansion / DLC focused on it. Now I don't think that they need to focus on that throughout a DLC or an expansion, but this should be something that should be coming at a later date, I would like to hope. The NPCs within an Outpost would absolutely change the game, and as you can see via the screenshots, it just makes it a little bit more livable, a little bit more alive, a little bit more like maneuverability is just a little bit more usage. It's absolutely crazy having people on the weight benches, just people doing their jobs, walking around the overall outpost, having meetings and stuff like that. It just makes a massive difference when it comes to the main playstyle inside of the game. So I completely agree with that one. There are some more screenshots again. If you guys want to check those out, make sure you do that via the link in the description. As always, we leave all of the links down in the description for you guys so you can actually dive through everything that we've been looking at and what we've been talking at in today's video. One thing people aren't happy with though is the red mile. This thing is extremely underwhelming. Now somebody goes on to state with 4.3k upvotes, anyone else incredibly disappointed with this thing? The game hype it up like this grueling endurance challenge, and then it's just a boring walk uphill with some projectile vomiting polar bears. I stopped playing last night when I found out I had to do this stupid thing a second time for one of the 3-star missions. Now that is something that we are hearing a lot, as we did have a bit of a meme post go up on Reddit as well, saying this place has a nice aesthetic to it. I hope they add more content to it in the future. And it states on the sign, based on the rock outside, Red MILF. Absolutely cracking. But even on the comments on that, people are stating that it would have been nice if you could actually gamble on a place built for gambling, and that people are disappointed with the way that they've made the Red Mile sound so dangerous, and it's just no harder than walking around any other planet with fauna. It does seem to be the case most definitely, and people are not impressed. So make sure you let me know your views on this via the comment section below, and if you haven't yet experienced it, then when you do, make sure you return back to this video, because I feel like you're gonna have something to say. Now as of right now though, Starfield's main count is something to behold, and it is quite a good leveled number. Now the all-time peak within 23 days ago, that was at just about 330,000 concurrent players in one go, and that was their highest peak in the game's lifespan. We're a month in now, and that's a decent number, and we're now on a 24-hour peak of 95,000 give or take, with around 80,000+ playing right now as we're recording this video. Now for me, these numbers do seem a little bit low. They are really, really good in comparables to a lot of other games. But this game was so hyped for years. The views that the videos managed to receive inside of trailers and the amount of hype that people had revolved around it. Now obviously this is only Steam, but with these Bethesda games, a lot of people now play them through Steam. Me, myself, I play it through Xbox, obviously, but the main Game Pass motive for it would have generated a lot more numbers, I am sure. But with a game like Elden Ring generating nearly 1 million of an all-time concurrent peak, it does seem to be a little bit odd, to say the least. And even then, within a 24-hour concurrent peak period, they are at 25,000, and that is with a 2-year lifespan already. These games are nothing alike, and they are by no stretch of the imagination anyway similar, but it is a little bit odd that Starfield hasn't generated more numbers via its Steam audience on PC, and I don't think that that's solely just down to the Xbox Game Pass. It will have definitely helped, don't get me twisted, before you hammer me in the comment section. I am fully aware. But people were not afraid to put money into this game. They just weren't. And they weren't having to purchase it on the Xbox Game Pass on a basis that they were going to be doing that. So I think it's a little bit odd, but it is taking a little bit of a tanking. As you can see, we've lost 2/3 of the main community within the space of the first month. This game will still have a solid viewing, and it will still have a lot of people playing it, even for years to come. I like to think this game is going to continuously do well, and it will progressively get better as they bring in DLCs and expansions. But as an overall, I think it just kind of missed the mark for me just a little bit, and I feel like I'm not the only person that thinks that. Now, if you haven't already, smash that beautiful blue thumbs up and subscribe with post notifications turned on. That is all we've got time for today. Thanks again for watching, guys. I appreciate all of your faces. But as always, up until the next time, I'll see you in the clouds.